Welcome back. Now, storytelling is something that we've all grown up with. It promotes a strong parent-child bond and can solidify a child's image. Now, that's if you're exposing your children, though, to content and literature that includes diverse ethnicities, not just Cinderella stories like we see all the time. So for now on that conversation, I'm joined by education psychologist Seago Maapola for this very important conversation. Seago, thank you for your time and good morning to you. I mean, this is not just a saying that it's important to expose young children to a culturally diverse, storytelling and, ethos and different ethnicities. But actually, your research says to me that there is a link to how children's attitudes and perceptions are shaped when they, of course, are only given a Eurocentric perspective when it comes to storytelling. Tell me more about that.
Thank you so much for having me. I think it's really important when we think about storytelling as a way of sharing incredible lessons that children wouldn't otherwise have. And I think it's very important that when we do expose our children to reading books or literature, that they are able to see themselves in that literature. I think cultural inclusivity in the content and the literature that they take in is so critical, especially for young children. And I think it's fantastic that there are, South African brands that are actually backing this and that have also seen that there's a gap in the market, a very big gap. There was a study that was done and it revealed that only 2% of books that are currently on circulation are written in some type of home language. And it is important that we're able to expose to our children to as many multilingual, multicultural books. And one such proudly South African brand is Wimpy, where they have actually seen the need and they have seen how they can fill it. Because it's important that when they see themselves, they know that they can also become the heroes and the problem solvers and the presidents that they see in the books and not just from different cultures.
But when they don't see themselves in these books, what negative emotions do they then adopt about their own ethnic identity?
Absolutely. So a very small part of what I do as a psychologist would be to conduct an emotional assessment. And as I think it's so interesting, especially with young children, when I ask them to draw a picture of a person, and that's the only instruction that I give. And they usually draw, especially with the girls, they'll draw someone that does not look like them, someone with super long hair, with blue eyes, who's a princess, and you can see that they really attribute very big value to this depiction of what they think beauty is, of what they think is someone of value. And I often think that, how do they feel about themselves? And I think, in all honesty, it's most of the time, it's because they are exposed to literature that is mainly Eurocentric, like you mentioned earlier. When children don't see themselves represented in the literature that they read, we see that they have self-image issues. They start to see themselves as lesser or smaller. And I think it just also it's the stereotypes that we see in society today.
Yeah. I also understand that encouraging a culturally diverse, storytelling and content and literature can actually strengthen parent and child bond. It can bring, the parents and their children together. What have you seen in terms of the benefits of reading diverse books with regards to how parents can better, get to know their kids and their kids can better enjoy their parents' company?
Definitely. I think reading is definitely an engaging activity that parents can do with their children. So it's important that firstly we're able to expose our children to books about us as a people, but also about books that are about other people. So they get to see how culturally diverse we are. When they get to schools, they are going to mix with other children from other types of cultures. So I think that it really reinforces that narrative. And when we read to our children as well, we use the different tones in our voices and we're able to ask them, which character do you identify with? What do you think you would have done if you were this particular character? And it really is a nice way to spend time with your children, because when they're able to learn in that space, in a safe space, in a loving space with their parents, it makes sure that the message is able to get through and they're able to see themselves positively. And I know that we are very busy with work and all of these things. And sometimes by the time we get home, we're just so exhausted. But I really think it's important that as South Africans, we know how important it is, even if it's just 10, 15 minutes, spending time reading children. There's just certain parts of the brain that are not stimulated by TV, that can only be stimulated by actually holding an actual book.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we're able to do that. And like I said, it really just reinforces that parent-child bond and that relationship, which is so crucial, because it also has benefits for how the children see themselves and their self-concept as well.